Hey everybody, got a wicked episode for you today, this morning, this afternoon, don't know what fucking time it is wherever you are. We got Mark Biedermann on the show from Blind Illusion, and we're super excited about it. It's another video pod because we did it over Zoom, so the video's on YouTube if you're only listening to this, and if you're already on YouTube, well, hello. Yeah, it was a great chat. All kinds of awesome stories. And yeah, stick around after the show for a full length track, straight as the crowbar flies. Stay safe and stay metal, motherfuckers. Welcome back to Getting Hard Podcast. This is episode 29. Today we have a special guest. We want to welcome Mark Biedermann of Blind Illusion to the show. Hello, sir.
Hello, the Biedermann here. How's it going, you guys?
Oh, it's going. We're just battling the remains of a snowstorm now.
Up in Nova Scotia, right?
Yep.
Far out, man.
Yep.
Yeah, we got close to, 50 centimeters of snow, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow, that's far out.
Yeah, close to 2 feet deep in one shot. So, yeah. Yeah, that's fun. Welcome to winter in the north.
Indeed.
So, how's things in the southern sides of things?
Well, down here, people are still wearing their masks when we go to work, but people are going to work. And as far as music goes, I think there's two kinds of bands that are making records and bands that are not.
Yep.
Because nobody's gigging,
No, it's true. It would be nice to play some shows, but yeah, the time will come eventually, I guess. We'll figure it out.
Well, there is a festival that has been announced with Lich King, Vicious Rumors, Blind Illusion, Schizo, Angerhead, a whole bunch of bands.
Yep.
We'll see if it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going on as if at the Redwood Metal Festival, I think is what it is. He's going on as if it's happening. And if it doesn't, well, we'll see then.
Yeah.
Then it'll become a internet thing, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. It'd be nice to, even if you can live stream it. Like, we've watched a couple of live stream concerts. It's not
How
as
were
fun
they?
as going, but it's still an option. It gives you something.
I saw Dress the Dead from the Whiskey A Go-Go, and it was pretty satisfying. It was a while back. It was on Facebook, and it translated really well. They had a good sound. But with me, my biggest fear is that Blind Illusion goes out and we just overdrive the microphone and it just isn't going to sound that great. Who knows?
Yeah, that's always been my thoughts too.
If we could have a monitor in another room and check it with a sound check, and then come back and look at the film and say, yeah, that's brutal. Let's do it.
Yeah, almost do a test recording. Like that.
Yeah.
I think the ones we watched were pre-recorded, listed as live, but pre-recorded.
That's probably the best way to do it. Yeah.
But like eventually they'll figure out a way. I mean, I know some places are doing like rapid testing at the door, so they can have big events with 100 people can go to a show.
Okay.
And they do a test at the door. I don't know how accurate the tests are, but they say they get false positives, but they never get false negatives. Something like that.
Well, I would really like to throw a gig in May, because in May will be about when we're releasing the Wrath of the Gods, Blind Illusion, Wrath of the Gods.
That's the brand new album?
That's the brand new album.
Nice.
And that will have songs written by all of us as a whole, and then a couple of songs like Tom, our bass player, wrote all of the music to Behemoth, which I wrote the lyrics for, and Doug wrote the music to Proto Molecule. Now we all write our own parts into it, so there's a whole lot of collaboration. But
Yeah,
a
that's really
song
cool.
like Wrath of the Gods that I primarily wrote, Doug has written the chorus part. And there you have it. It's a whole mishmash of everything. There's a couple of is an old song, one old song, Slow Death, that was supposed to be on the Sane Asylum. But we saved it because we went overtime. We had enough material to go further and just cut it there. And then we still had 3 songs in the can for the next record, which was Cry of the Banshee and Destroyer, but that never got picked back up. And this Slow Death is a completely different version. It's a different arrangement, actually. And it smashes.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. I like the sound of you guys' new setup. It sounds amazing. The song actually that you were going to be playing at the end of this episode is
Straight as the Crowbar Flies.
Yes.
Straight as the Crowbar Flies. I love that tune. Yeah,
Is that the one?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's heavy. I love it.
And it's a true story. The lyric is actually about a woman who was a great friend of mine, and I was living in the barn on her property, but she had Jekyll and Hyde syndrome. And I came in one day and she was so drunk and she didn't even know who I was. And at one point I was standing after she threw all the kitchen stuff out and everything, all her own belongings. She didn't know whose they were. She was gone. She threw a crowbar at me, but I had just closed my studio door, which was a big barn door, and it was opened this way. Yeah, this way. And as I went in and closed it, I heard, and I was like, oh my God. I stayed up posted all night. I put things up against the walls in case she's going to try to shoot through the walls.
That'd be so scary.
The next morning, I found the crowbar. And I was like, oh my God. So I told her, I said, hey man, whoever that was standing on my porch, I went in and I told her, I said, thank you so much for what you did last night. And she was waking up all like, oh my God, what have I done? And I said, whoever that was standing on my porch last night, you got that fucker. Excuse my language. You got that sucker. They were coming to get me, man, and you got that sucker. And nobody will ever know that you were really the Night Stalker in El Sobrante, because that was in our area. And I said, don't worry, the saying is no longer straight as the crow flies, it's straight as the crowbar flies. I buried the body and hid the weapon. You're safe with me. And I said, if you killed before, just don't kill me and we'll be okay. So I got out of there a little while later, but that's how the lyrics came about.
That's pretty awesome.
So it's so clean the grit out your ears and the sweat out your eyes when they throw the book at me, straight as the crowbar flies. If the book don't hit me, then I'm not guilty. The crowbar didn't hit me. I did not deserve to die. That was a very holy crowbar.
That is a great story.
Oh man.
Yeah,
a lot of the lyrics. Okay, so now then we got this other song that Tom Gears wrote called Spaced. Now, Spaced, I don't know if you've ever watched The Expanse.
Nope.
On TV, on Amazon Prime. It's a sci-fi show and it's really good. Turns out we have 3 references to the show in our albums. One, the Behemoth. I didn't even realize that was a ship in series 2 of it. But that's just a coordination. We write a song called The Proto Molecule about something dealing with space and that the aliens set the proto molecule to destroy Earth. But nonetheless, this song Spaced is about when you're in the rocket, when you're in the spaceship and they want to get rid of you, they just send you into the thing and open the airlock and you're spaced.
Going.
If you refuse to rock, you're going out the airlock, spaced. Now, that was our drummer when we were in Germany because it was a big fiasco, but nonetheless, the lyrics are about him. And I'm going to tell you the lyric because I'm really proud of this lyric. This lyric, I captured all the intensity of it. He didn't realize when we were writing the song in Germany that it was about him. And furthermore, when we rode home on the airplane, they sat me next to the door. Then they gave me instructions. They said, will you open this door if we get in a wreck and you have to be the first to go down the slide? I said, the airlock, I got the airlock, I'll take it. That was God talking to me through them like, watch it, buddy, because we still had this guy working for us. We're flying home with him. And He was out of the band halfway through the tour. Really, he tried to not go on the tour. We made him go on the tour, but nonetheless, it goes like this. I got this band in Brazil, Hellway Patrol, and I love them so much that I put them in the song. It says, on our way to heaven, we got pulled over by the Hellway Patrol. They were checking for warrants to see if one of us had sold our soul. On our way to heaven, we got pulled over by the Hellway Patrol. You must have been looking for Sire. He threatened to walk. He refused to rock, so we sent him out the airlock, spaced. You refuse to rock, you're going out the airlock. There it is.
That's some cool lyrics.
Yeah, I tell you, man.
I like that shit.
Fucking, excuse my language. It's just crazy because we wrote him out of every other thing in history in the book. I put him back into the Wikipedia because, I mean, I got to say it. At one point, our road manager, Henry, threw up in his room. Now, this is after we went on the tour and he decides he can't ride with us to the shows. He's got to have his own cab. So that's another $50. And then he's late. He's not there for sound check. He's coming right before we play. So I'm on edge. Then he says he can't sleep with us. He's got to have his own room. That's another $100 a night. Then Henry throws up in his room and he calls up Tom, our bassist, and says, this is Sire talking. He says, his name is Eric, but I call him Sire because I have another Eric in the Ghost Kings who's a handful. So I can't have two Erics, right? And that was right. But anyways, this guy Sire calls up Tom and says, cancel the last two shows. I'm not playing unless if I get $1,200 US. Henry threw up in his room. That's all a big mess, whatever. So Tom gave him $300 and the shows went on. And he forever remains in the song Spaced.
There you go. He's part of the band.
He refused to rock. And you know what we're going to do with that song Spaced is we got a 4-minute version of it on the record. And it's a wild song. It sounds kind of like an Al Di Meola song. It's kind of like an instrumental with lyrics.
Yeah.
But and then it goes into some Frank Marino, Jimi Hendrix stuff. And I mean, it's wild, but it's got this Japanese scale on it. And Tom wrote it, the music. But nonetheless, coming back to what? Yeah, Sire, gone. We have Andy Gallion now on the drums.
Oh.
Andy Gallion from Death Angel is now pretty much the leader of Blind Illusion, as he thinks exactly like me.
Well, that's good.
So,
that's a nice person to have.
Oh, man. This guy comes in and he says, hey, we should record it with a click and everything. And we're like, wow, yeah, we discussed that. And we should do it like this, where it's just him. And I was like, yeah, we already discussed that too. And then he says, and then we should have our vocals be like Queen, but thrash metal. And we said, wow, he's on the exact same track that we were on. Now, I can't sing like Freddie Mercury, but I can stack tracks. And I've got two guys in the band that can sing now. So Andy can really sing.
So
Andy
who's the lead vocals?
Pardon me?
Who's the lead vocals?
I sing lead.
You're okay. You do all the lead vocals and lead guitar.
Straight, that's the crowbar flies. Yeah, that's me.
Okay, and lead guitar as well.
But now with Andy in the band, you see, we're doing things that you'll hear on like the Proto Molecule, where some of the backing vocals, Cauldron Bubble, I never even say that. That's them. The backing, that's those guys.
That's the other.
We're having actual backup vocals coming in and around, and it's like a trip because I go into the studio and I lay down what I want, and then they come back in and replace me, because I'm just telling them this is the pitch, because Andy has a really grinding voice. Andy sang lead vocals with the organization on a couple of songs. And I know he sang plenty of backup with Death Angel, of course.
Yeah.
He just comes in. He's a total natural. And Doug is producing everything. And Doug is great because he's got this Uli Yngwie thing going where all of his Stratocasters are scalloped. He's got the whammy bar. He's got the delays. I come in with the Les Paul. And on his song at the end of it on my solo, he's producing me, right? But he jumps out of his chair. I had to do it 2 times because I went, bueno. I used the low E tuning peg and went, bueno, and made a bar sound in his song on my solo and flipped him out because you see, my mom, when I was 15, my mother, Myrna, she had always expected me to be a country guitar player by the age of 12, but I found Kung Fu. It was a small guitar. The guitar was, my hands were too small. The guitar was too big for my hands. And I wanted to be like Bruce Lee as Kato in the Green Hornet. So I found a Kung Fu master at the age of 8. And that's the rest of my history. My whole music and
really into Kung Fu.
Pardon me?
I said, I knew you were really into Kung Fu. We had talked about that
yes,
before.
to this day.
That's
I
awesome.
chin to the toe. You know, I stretch my chin to the toe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very healthy for that, for the body and stuff.
You know, the funny thing is it just, you need to be healthy like that, you know, in the mind and body. And so when I'm writing music and everything anymore, I write music mostly in my mind, and because I have an understanding of the notes, you know, so in my mind I'm going later. You know, like Mozart or something. And then I go to the guitar. I don't go to the pen. I go to the guitar and I check it and I go, whoa. And sometimes the hands do something different and I go, well, I got that too now. But yes, these guys are just amazing. And then so Doug is producing everything and recording my stuff, but Tom Gears has his studio also in Oakland, which is where we do the drums and he records all his bass stuff with his dogs in there and everything. And
yeah, I'm really glad you guys got an awesome setup, man. It sounds really great.
Yeah,
be pretty cool to see you guys get a tour and come up here and play some shows up this way.
Absolutely.
I know you'd have some fans, man. I know lots of people who around here know your band and are into that old school thrash metal sound you guys have.
That's fantastic. We definitely will be touring the minute they open the floodgates.
Oh yeah. And there's
and it's going to be wild because
be astronomical.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing, bro.
Yeah. People are just
going to be amazing. Yeah. And what's the name of your band again?
We're called Built for Sin.
Cool. Well, you guys will have to be on the bill when we get up there with you guys.
Hey, man, you just shoot me a line and it's done.
Right on.
Sure. We've got the coolest kind of little teeny metal bar in the city that...
Yeah, it's pretty small. There's some good venues around, though, for big shows.
No. Hey, Blind Illusion doesn't really draw that well worldwide so far. We do well in certain areas, but we do better in a small place, packing it in, you know, a couple hundred.
That's what it's kind of like here anyway. Most of the metal bars are pretty small, like 50 people in your film.
Wow, that's pretty small.
Yeah, you're filming with 50 people.
We've got a place called the Richmond Rod and Gun Club where we're going to throw McBean's Metal Fest. Yep. My friend Michael McBean just passed away. He was my personal manager and one of my best friends ever since he was 15 years old, roadieing for the band and telling me, make it heavier, you know? So yeah, right on, Michael, go into the light. So, but anyways, we're going to have a show out at the Richmond Rod and Gun Club. Now, the Richmond Rod and Gun Club is out by the water, but they've got it built so that there's not any wind because they want to go out there and shoot their guns. Now, the thing about this is most of the people shooting their guns out there are law enforcement and FBI and all kinds of people. So we ain't worried about our show getting shut down, but we are worried about doing it too early. We will go out there with masks if we have to by May. Yeah. If they will not let us play the clubs, and yet they're still going shopping and they're still playing the golf, and they got football games going on, Blind Illusion will play a show, and it will be, you know, less than 100 people allowed, probably.
Arts and entertainment is getting fucked over in the pandemic, and other people are continuing on doing what they want.
Absolutely.
Like you said, sports is still going.
Absolutely.
You know, UFC is still going.
Absolutely.
All kinds of crazy stuff. Comedy is dying because there's no comedy shows. There's no music shows. You know, it's crazy.
It's not good.
It's nice to see, though, that bands have embraced the ability to be able to do shows online.
Yes.
Because I think you can reach such a bigger audience that way.
Yes. Well, we're certainly going to do something in the studio, like you said, pre-record it. It doesn't have to have a live audience. It's going out on the stream. It's going to be us playing live in the studio. Heck, we might even really doctor it up and make it, you know, really good, you know.
Like,
go ahead.
Tickets.
Well, I don't know about selling tickets, man, but, you know, We just
Put it on
put it
YouTube.
out there. It's free, man. The
Put
music
it
is
on YouTube.
free.
Yep.
Don't you know that by now? You know what? YouTube is so amazing, and all
Yep.
these streaming things are amazing because, I mean, sometimes I get blocked, but if I go look for something on Spotify, usually I can find it and they'll let me hear it. They're not making me buy it. And I'm all down for that because, you see, I'm a kid from the radio days, KFRC radio, you know? My 6th grade was listening to Stairway to Heaven on the radio, and, you know, songs like, I don't know, they were just, you know, Manfred Mann and stuff like that, doing the what's the guy from New Jersey? Bruce Springsteen song.
Oh, yeah.
Blinded by the Light. All kinds of crazy stuff like that. What was heavy though back then? There was Black Betty by the Ram Jam.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is you're listening to the radio. No, that music's free. So whenever we put out a record, first off, we got to give them a couple of singles because that's what you want to be like, as if it's the radio. So just
Yeah,
look
you
at
give them a little taste.
and it's like, you know, so what if there was the money thing is not, it's not about the money.
No.
When we sell a record today, though, what I'm really doing is selling you my friend's artwork.
Yeah.
And the ability to hold the record in your hand and watch it spin on the turntable,
Yeah, it's true.
which is really cool.
Because
You
it
know,
costs
yeah, one
money
going
to have
this
the
way,
blade,
one
so
going
that's
that
all
way.
it is.
But, you know, I mean, other than that, see, I used to have a record collection that went from one wall to the other. But then when the CDs came in, it was really hard to find a needle, man. They stopped making needles for the longest of time. And
It's getting better now.
Yeah, technology has rewound and caught itself back up.
Yeah.
I mean, and especially when you're talking about, okay, so Blind Illusion has a new album coming out around May. We're going to have a few singles out before then. So we're going to keep that pumping. We're going to try to do some online thing. And we are working on a movie, Death Noise Volume 1, Bay Area and beyond thrash metal scene today. That's got all these bands like Schizo and Heathen, and even Rick Hunoldt's H-Team Exodus appearance when he went back and played with them at the church. And then you got your Blind Illusion. You got these young bands like Violent Legacy, whose first gig had the guy Sean Killian from Violence sing with them. And then you've got our other kids are Plague, and they're going to have to change their name. We understand there's another Plague out there. So sorry about all the plagues, people. But I said, how about Metallic Plague? He says, I don't understand that. I'm like, what's to not understand about a Metallic Plague? You practically got the name Metallica in your name, which is the Metallic Plague. Wow, I take that name and I'm running with it, Jack.
Yeah, Alan Jackson would know what that meant.
Woo! Alan is now okay. Now Marty Stewart is the one who can really rip, right? You got Marty Stewart and Brad Paisley. Those guys really play.
I don't know anything about country music.
Who did you say? Who did you say?
I said Alan Jackson. I just pulled it right off the top of my head.
He can sing though. Yeah, but see, I play country music.
Oh, do you?
I have a band called the Ghost Kings. We are the Lords of the Strings, God's gift to country. We rock and rule.
Hey,
we rock and rule, bro. I'm telling you, it was the band that back in the day, 1980. I can't remember. It was Richmond High's 1985 probably graduation party at Montara Bay, and it was Metallica and Blind Illusion. Now, Kirk was late, so James comes to me and says, Mark, you're going to have to play lead for us tonight. I said, well, James, I really don't know the songs, so if you just tell me the key before the song, I'll rip you a solo, but just look at me and I'll play. He was like, shocked that somebody did not know his songs. And I said, James, don't take it so badly. I'm so busy writing my own songs, and whatever I listen to, I get influenced by it. So I don't want to be influenced by you guys. You're my neighbors, you know? And he said, okay. So then Cliff comes up and says, no, Biedermann, you got those Southern licks. Let's go play some Southern rock. So we grabbed a drummer from the audience, and we did Gimme 3 Steps by Leonard Skinner, Simple Man, and Poison Whiskey.
Okay.
And then we did the reprise of Freebird, just the dun 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 dun, dun and just soloed up, and that was that. And yeah, and a song called, well, never mind that song. Oh, Under the Bridge, that Chris Olsen, who plays in Blind Illusion 1979, which I'm coming around to this in a second. Cliff made me promise after we jammed that night that I would do a Southern rock band with him, so that when he came home from Metallica after his 39-month tour, he didn't want to spend the next 8 months at home. He wanted to go back out on the road with me and eat like he was eating for 39 months. He didn't want to go home. And then he never came home. So 10 years later, I'm living at the Buddhist monastery, the city of 10,000 Buddhists, Omi Tofu, teaching Kung Fu and leaving the home life almost. I left behind the business. And then I discovered the name the Ghost Kings in a Buddhist sutra. The past
you're like the Batman of heavy metal.
More like Kato, though, still, you know?
Yeah, Kato.
Batman was karate.
Yeah.
Kato is Shaolin Kung Fu, Wing Chun. Yeah, he said that actually in the Green Hornet. Kato said he kicked the ceiling or the light post, and he says, Chinese Kung Fu is not child's play. So here I am at 3.5 years old telling my mom I need to learn Chinese Kung Fu. Yeah. And she's freaking out. And 5 years later, we found my teacher, who was really fantastic, Shaolin.
I love the show. I forced her to watch it and made the kids try to watch it, but they wouldn't dig it.
Well, you know what? It wasn't as good as it could have been, but it was pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's pretty neat to watch it. The car's pretty awesome with the green headlights and everything.
They should have made it its own. I followed Batman so much.
My favorite movie is Enter the Dragon, you see.
Yeah, that's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, when he does the...
Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee?
Yeah, when he fights O'Hara, who had done his sister wrong, you know? And he just hits him, bam! It's just, O'Hara's like, he can't do anything. Bruce Lee's so fast.
I used to love those old Bruce Lee movies.
That's the kind of guitar playing I do, is Bruce Lee style, you know?
So did you, I think I might have seen this in an interview, so correct me if I'm wrong. Did you grow up with Kirk Hammett?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Les Claypool from Primus, Dan Watson from Hex, Tom Hunting, all those guys, Gary Holt from Exodus, and then Kirk Hammett, who was in Exodus. We all grew up together. We went to De Anza High together, every one of us.
That's pretty awesome.
And I think there's more. I just can't remember. Let me think. Well, anyways, Kirk had his band. First of all, we were in the movie Murder in the Front Row. Kirk, it talks about Kirk and I being in Mr. B's class. And Mr. B was a guitar impresario. He was great. He was a maestro. He could play jazz chords, like behind a Django Reinhardt style, or he could play this classical. And so one day they moved me up because the guys that were big, they were the first chair guitar players, were leaving early, graduating, and they told Mr. B, move the kid up. Mark Biedermann is the blues guy around here. And so then Kirk was sitting straight across from me now in the third chair. I told Mr. B, move Kirk up to number 2, because not only is he good, and number 2 is just like number 1. We go da da da, they go da 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 da, and it goes, and the bass player number 3 goes da da da. But not only did we need him there, but he was stealing all my licks, sitting directly across from me. So Mr. B saw this, that I was upset about my death noise sound, my boom boom bam boom bam da. So the next day he teaches the whole class the E harmonic minor scale, which was what I was doing in death noise. I was trying to hide from Kirk because he's like a tape recorder. Come to find out years ago, he has a tape recorder that slows your recordings down half speed, and that's how he figured out all his Schenker and Blackmore licks.
Oh,
I thought he was doing it right there, face to face, bam. But Mr. B busted me and taught it to everybody. It was great. So when you see the movie and all hail Mr. B, man, took me to the symposium, and Kirk too. We played Sacramento music and symposiums and stuff like that. We played on Channel 7 TV. But yeah, that was some great times. Some great times. Young Sounds of Spring. So I'll tell you this story real quick. I would show up to class every day or school. I only go to third period. That's the guitar period where Mr. B is, and Kirk and Chris Olsen and Ron Johnson, where I learned all my bluegrass licks, and Carol Welch's, all these people, great guitar players. They could all read music. I couldn't, but I didn't read it. I memorized it. So at class, I'd come 3 days late. They've all got it down. I go, okay, what is it? And I just closed my books, and Mr. B was just impressed that I could do it, but it was like, please just open your books at least. So funny thing is I would say, I'd see Kirk, I'd go, hey, the Death Noise is coming, because I was writing Death Noise at the time. It took me 9 months to complete Death Noise. And he would go, weasels rip my flesh, Frank Zappa, right? So we do our thing. And then I told him, I says, man, I finally wrote the lyrics to Death Noise. And I showed my mom, and she said, have you been reading the Bible, Revelations? I says, no, why? All I've been doing is watching The Exorcist and The Omen, and it scared the hell out of me. And I wrote my song about God versus the devil, and I'm going to kick the devil's ass. So she says, this is like Revelations and blah, blah. So I read Revelations, and it said all this crazy shit about, in the end, that you cannot steal from this prophecy, or God will do unto you all these things within. And I said, well, that doesn't matter, because I didn't steal it. I wrote it before I read it. So it's cool. Yeah, I told Kirk that story. He comes back the next day and he goes, Mark, I found the name for my band in the Bible, the fucking Exodus, man. And it was so amazing. It's like, pretty cool. Right then I knew, it's like, damn, that's more metal than Blind Illusion. Blind Illusion is like, we're going to play Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Jethro Tull, yes, not Metallica, but Black Sabbath, stuff like that, King Crimson. And Exodus is going to play Judas Priest, you know. And we grew up together like that, to where a couple of songs of mine, Metamorphosis of a Monster, and the riffs for Slow Death, are an ode to Exodus, you know, whom when they went on their first tour, they took me and Doug Piercy. Doug Piercy as their sound man, me as their personal roadie, throw him off the stage guy, you know, with my kung fu.
Awesome.
And I took 10 Trilogy of Terror tapes out with me with Dave White from Heathen now, and Gino and all those guys. Les wasn't back in yet. Les has been in 3 times, in and out 3 times. But this time I took these cassettes up with me when I went with Exodus. I'm sorry if I'm yelling, by the way. I'm going deaf.
Nope. You're good. We can
okay.
hear you. We can hear you loud and clear.
That's
Hopefully
good.
We're loud
so,
enough.
Okay, so yeah, you're loud enough. So I go out there with all these cassettes, like 30 of them, and each night, first night, Portland, Oregon, we go in. Gary Holt's like, lamps. They had lamps hanging from the ceiling in Portland, Oregon, just like that show Portlandia, where they're weird in Portland. They are. They have lamps, millions and millions of lamps. So Doug was there. He was Mouth. Doug, I'm son of Mouth. Doug talks more long-winded than I. But the thing is we get up there and I'm throwing these cassettes out to people. 10 tonight, 10 in Oregon, 10 in Oregon, 10 in Washington, and then I was through in Vancouver. So I went home because I was done. I had promoted my band. Doug continued on the tour with Exodus. And I tell you, I had 3 nights taking care of Paul Bailoff, where I had to have a bucket of ice with water in it. So in between song, and far enough away from the electrics, but close enough so that he could get to it in between songs and dip in up to his shoulders and then go back out and sing. You know, it was amazing to see people coming to the shows. You know, we did it around here forever, but it was nothing to us to play Blind Illusion and Exodus playing. You know, they would open for us because they had all covers, but they were great. I mean, they were playing AC/DC covers and ZZ Top, and Kirk would play with a slide, you know, and but we played down in San Jose, and there's like 200 people, you know. We're always drawing 200, 300, 400 people wherever we go. Back in the day when we were kids.
That's a nice crowd for sure.
Yeah.
It's hard for us to, like, around here, it's hard for us to find a venue that's not 5,000 people size.
Oh man.
Like, it's either there's 5,000 people or 50. Maybe
yeah, well, take the 50,
there might be a few bars you can get 100 people in.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool.
But I like the small venues too. They're fun.
Well, we've kind of returned because the way the music business is now, where anybody can record something for virtually nothing if they just bought the Pro Tools or whatever, you know. I mean, some of that stuff isn't that expensive in the long run.
No, you can,
No.
So, or
you
even
can get set
even
up
just
pretty cheap.
Audacity, even just the free online programs that you can get on YouTube or just off the Google, those are strong enough. Reaper and all those are good enough that you can actually record your own album if you have the mics and the time and the, you know, patience. But the thing is the bottom's so dropped out of the business. It's amazing. I love it because now it's not like we're not even worried about a record company giving us an advance because we're recording the record ourselves.
Yeah, we're just doing all the work.
And we tell the record companies, and now this is my public service message to the record companies. Don't mean to cut you off.
No.
Blind Illusion is doing it old school now. We don't want to see any imports. Okay. Yeah. So we signed a deal with Helion Records in Brazil and Argentina. Okay. They cover Brazil and Argentina. So they're going to press like 500 records and give us 100. And then we're off with our records in North America, selling our import records, but they're shipping it to us as part of the deal. So we're not going to charge anybody exorbitant prices for them, like because it's an import from Helion Records.
Yeah,
but
no, now we're still getting them for a good price.
Here's what I need. Now I've got some friends, and I would like to have Jovita from Metal on Metal do Europe, with the exception of Poland and Russia. Even though Jovita's from Poland, go figure. She's in Italy now, but my friends at Metal Mind Productions, who, I mean, they just outright bootleg our stuff. I give them permission to do it, you know, but they do whatever they want. They're in Poland and they're like, we can't find them to get permission, do it. But I gave that guy Tomasz Jubinski years ago. He was going to put out the Sane Asylum, and I got a friend of mine found that and sent him an overnight letter that said, Mark Biedermann will be calling you tomorrow at 5 o'clock to discuss this. And so I did. And I told him, first thing, Tomas, man, I love you. Thank you for doing this. But how did you get the rights or anything? I just want to know, was he making any money? So I just said, go with it, run with it. I did not know. Now I called him the great hero of heavy metal because he said he just wanted to do this for us. There's one last thing in life he wanted to do. I didn't know he was dying of cancer.
Oh, shoot.
The last thing he did was put the Blind Illusion Sane Asylum out on Metal Mind Records in like 2010-ish. And I wouldn't let nobody have it. The guys at New Century Media asked me for it, and I said, I want money for it. But then when this guy came around, I had already went on the internet years before and said, anybody who's pressing Blind Illusion stuff, because I found some Japanese imports and stuff that who knows what's doing it. I said, just know this, you're working for me. And if you can, feed your children off of it, great. But I got kids too. I'd like a little Skrilla, send me a few records is all, just to let me know that you're thinking of me. But I said, anybody who wants to storm into 8 Carnaby Street, London, England, Music for Nations, Martin Hooker, and get my master tapes and my master artwork, know this, you're working with me and go do it. Blitzkrieg. And that's what Tomasz Jubinski did. That's why I always have it. Metal Mind Productions can do pretty much whatever they want because that guy really came out of the woodwork.
He just wants to spread the word.
Into the grave, and put us back. Thank you, Tomasz.
That's cool. He just wants to spread the word.
So what we want is now we want somebody in Japan. We need somebody in Australia. Yeah. And we need somebody, we've got other parts of South America to worry about, Chile and stuff,
You got
this
Canada
guy's got
covered?
Brazil, and what did I say? Brazil and Argentina? Pretty good. That's a start. So what we do is with these guys is we just say, press 1,000, well, press 1,200, give us 200 and keep 1,000, or press 600 and keep 500. So they get an even number, and then we get ours a piece. And that way we're not worrying about what the record company's doing. Yeah, they can do whatever they want once they give us that. It's like, hey, whatever.
Yeah.
We're also on Blood Blast, which is streaming things. There's 200 platforms all over the world that stream our music.
Okay.
And so that's cool.
You're on Spotify too, so there's.
Well, that's part of the Blood Blast
thing.
So
they spread it out. Yeah.
Yeah, Blood Blast hits everybody. They
It's
get
like
it.
DistroKid, I think, is about the same thing.
Pardon?
I'm pretty sure DistroKid is the same thing.
Okay, cool.
They
Well,
you pay a subscription and then they just basically will put it out to whatever streaming services that exist, more or less.
well, Blood Blast didn't make us pay anything. They came to us, and we kind of thought they were a record label at first, and that there was going to be something going on. But the fact that they're in cahoots with Nuclear Blast is the reason why we just said, yeah,
that's where the blast.
Jump. Because if something goes good, then Nuclear Blast is going to say, grab them, put them on tour with who? Exodus, Death Angel, I don't know, whoever else is on Nuclear Blast.
It's like this is like Nuclear Blast's band firm.
Exactly.
This
is their minor league team. We're going to see what you got. So now, in the next couple of months, I just sent you the album cover of
we just
Blind
saw that.
Illusion 1979 Bandthology series, and all of the songs, I swear to God, are from 1979 recording.
Nice.
Likewise Studios.
Just remastered.
8-track. No, they were never mixed.
Oh.
They sat in my mom's room with all the other Ampex 456 tapes, and I don't even think these were 456 because these were like quarter-inch because they were 8-track. These weren't the 24-track or the 16. So it was unmixed and never finished, really. So many moons later, when technology catches back up, I took it out to KUSF one time and played it on the air because Ron Quintana had a 2-track machine.
Is it a DAT?
What we did was it was Ampex reel-to-reel tape.
Oh, okay.
And we had it transferred. Harold O had it transferred when he joined Blind Illusion. He had all my tapes transferred to disc. So I mixed it myself after all those years. I mean, I just sat there and mixed it on Audacity. So it's not like you're getting this big vamped up thing. You're getting what I was capable of doing.
Yeah.
And what I was capable of doing was delivering you something that sounded like it was completed in 1979.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of cool when you think about it, because that's when it was written, so maybe that's how it should sound.
And the artwork on the cover is from 78.
That's pretty
Alvin
awesome. So
Petty.
it's a completely, what do they call that? It's like
it's a retro,
it's
right?
like a completely retro release.
It's unearthed, it's
That's awesome.
It's oh my goodness. In the Electric Apricot movie, have you seen that?
No.
Nope.
Les Claypool has a movie called Electric Apricot, and Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead's in it, and 3 of the members of Electric Apricot, the jam band, were members of Blind Illusion. Adam Gates.
Say it again. It's Electric what?
Apricot.
Like like the fruit.
Electric Apricot.
Okay.
Yes. So you got Adam Gates, who played the bass and sings, but he's got a weird name in the movie. You got Brian Kehoe, who plays Gordo, and he's the guitar player, but he played in Blind Illusion back when Les was in the band. And then you got Lapdog on drums, and that's Les playing drums in this jam band. And then the keyboardist, I don't know who it is. He was never in Blind Illusion, maybe someday. But the thing is he says in this movie, Les, they're making their first album. And Les is so funny, and we're so close in certain ways, even though we haven't seen each other in years. If we saw each other, it would just be like, I taught him how to play his bass.
It'd be like it was yesterday, yeah.
So I taught him all that stuff. So I'm like his daddy of music, so anyways, the thing is he says in this movie, you can only put out your first album once. Well, he says that like 3 or 4 times, but I'm here to tell you, our first album was actually recorded in 1979 and never released. So the Sane Asylum, which was 10 years later, is not really our first album. And we went through a lot of changes.
Sane Asylum was the first actual release.
Yes, but we had done a full album at the age of 16.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it's got Kamikaze and Death Noise and The Watcher and Death is Gray and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Some of it is slower because we were in the studio and I was writing the solo for Kamikaze. That was the actual solo that you will hear later, but not on the 79 one because I couldn't play it. It was I couldn't do it at the pace we were playing, so we slowed it down a little. And the best thing about this record is going to be the liner notes, because I just tore the people apart that tried to water down our sound in the studio, and I just told the truth about it. I didn't call them a bunch of names like I did on the single. When we put the single out,
you were just calling people names.
I was brutal about it, man. We used to call our manager Jack Pfeiffer. We called him Jacques Nate. And it was like, he was the guy who dropped the money out of us. He said he wanted to take us into the studio, but when he took us in, then he said, I'm the one paying for it, so you have to listen to me. And then he's the guy who's running the studio, so you have to listen to him. And they tried to tell us not to have our second bass drum. They tried to tell us we couldn't use a bass amp. It just had to go just direct. And then when we tried to go to just direct, the clicking of my thumping when I played Death is Gray on the bass, I played like Stanley Clark, right? They couldn't take that. So I told them when I went back out to the car after we played we played a little bit, and then they caught the guy turning my amp down. So I went out to the car and smoked a joint out in front of Bullwinkle Land, which had this house with wrought iron sculpture all over the house. Bullwinkle and Rocky and all kinds of stuff. So smoked my joint, went back, and I told him, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to play a whole set live. Bass amp, second bass drum, everything. You guys stay on the other side of the window. We play our whole song. Then you choose the 4 songs you want us to do as you're watered down. You know, it's just, they just wanted us to do overdubs, and that was great, but not at the cost of, they tried to make me do a scratch track where the drummer couldn't hear us loud. And I'm like, hey, let's put my amp in another room, isolated. How can my drummer play Led Zeppelin if he's not got Jimmy Page tone behind him? You know, they drove me crazy.
Well, when you multi-track, there's something you don't get. Like, there's something that's lost from that live performance when you try to do a complete multi-track. I feel like, anyway.
Yes.
Like there's something, I don't know. You can't explain it. It's something you just sort of feel it in the music.
You mean when you just record live?
Like when you just say.
Oh no, we got a great recording of just the live band. It was great. Actually, it was pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
And there's 11 songs of that, and then there's 4 songs that we did the overdubs on, and those are brilliant. Because now that I'm now older, I knew what I was doing. I had one guitar going down, 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 while the other goes down, 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 down. They were playing around each other like Zeppelin, you know.
Yeah.
And it was in no way thrash metal. That Metallica was not even thought of yet, you know. Lars was still a young child probably when I was 16. I don't know how old they were, but we started Blind Illusion when I was 15.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
1978. Yeah.
So where can everybody find you guys on the internet? You guys have a website?
On the internet? Well, we have a website. You know,
is it like blindillusion.com or something?
Something like that, yeah. But you know what? Here's the thing. We've got a really spanking website right now, and I wish I'm going to try to call Tom as we speak, because I need to know exactly what the handle is. Thing is when you go on there and you look for Blind Illusion, you might find Wolf from World and Sound Germany, and he's still selling our record, and we're having legal battles with him because he won't answer the phone.
Okay.
And we're just trying to tell him, hey, you know, our 5-year contract was up a year ago. Why is he still selling our stuff, and why is he still trying to collect on the Sane Asylum on the online sales, you know, because we've got Blood Blast now, and they keep sending us a message every month saying, hey, you know, you're still not selling the Sane Asylum through us. Well, we can't because Wolf has it still locked up. Really? So, well, anyways, www.blindillusion.com. If it says something about our new album, then that's the new one. Sweet. Yeah.
So you guys have a Facebook page too?
Yes. Yeah. Blind Illusion. I think it's just Blind Illusion, although we thought we were kind of calling it Blind Illusion Official. But you see, there's 2 other bands that over the years that have tried to call themselves Blind Illusion.
Yeah.
One's from Indonesia, and we're going to feature them in our video, Straight as the Crowbar Flies. The opening scene of the video, I've sent these guys cease and desist orders for years, but we're gonna be sitting around a TV screen. You're gonna see the TV screen for a second, and then it's gonna show us, and you're gonna hear it on the TV where it says, "And now from Indonesia, Blind Illusion," and we go, hey, that's not us. Each of us can say one word, and then the crowbar goes through the TV. Bows, and then the song starts straight to Crowbar Flies. That's how we're going to get him. We'll get him. We'll put him in our video. That's how we'll get him.
You got some awesome ideas, man.
Why be mad at them? Just be thankful that there's another Blind Illusion to take the hit when they come to get us.
Yeah.
There they are. They're the ones who sang Blood Shower against the Middle East. Go get them.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. I got to tell you, I shouldn't be crazy about it, but, you know, I was really freaked out for a long time. I even had a weird episode one night in Crockett because our car got in a wreck, but I thought somebody had shot the car, and I thought it was ISIS because I don't want to even bring them up because I don't want to give them time and I don't want them coming after me. But that Eagles of Death Metal thing had just happened and I was freaked out.
Oh, yeah.
So now in our lyrics in No Rest Till Budapest, we've got, it's crazy, but this is just a commentary on like what it would be like if you were on tour with the Eagles of Death Metal. We've got Flash Bomb Kalashnikov. I didn't even know what a Kalashnikov is. Apparently that's a Glock, a Russian Glock. That's what Doug came up with.
Yeah,
Flash Bomb
he was
Kalashnikov.
He was like a gun maker.
Okay.
Something.
Flash Bomb Kalashnikov, weaponized limousines, sarin gas pocket bombs, taser guns and laser beams. No Rest Till Budapest. This No Rest Till Budapest is a rock anthem that we've written where when we were at the Storm Crusher Festival, the song was not written all the way or arranged, but I knew what it was. And I had the crowd sing, no rest, no rest, no rest till Budapest. I had 1,000 people, well, maybe 600 of the 1,000 singing it. And we got it on tape. And so we've got that at the intro of the song, like We Will Rock You or something by Queen, but it's a bit faster. It's got some wild changes in it where the timing goes to 7/4, then back to 4/4, then it goes back to 7/4, then it goes to 5/4. And it's just, Andy Gallion plays through it like it's straight. He is totally the Neil Peart of thrash metal.
That's cool.
And then Tom Gears has filled Les Claypool's boots, man, from day one. Tom Gears is a bassist virtuoso. And of course, Doug Piercy, it's amazing that you're interviewing me because a lot of times these days people are really coming to me to find Doug. Oh, we want to talk to Doug Piercy now. Okay, Doug is hard to find, man. Doug's like Jeff Beck. He's working on his cars and stuff. You know, Doug works on race car engines.
No, dude, it's been an honor to have you on the show, man. You have no idea.
Well, I hope I covered enough ground, and let me think. Is there anything I left out?
You got some crazy, wicked stories, buddy.
Yeah.
I hopefully someday I get to see your band play live in person.
Man, I'm telling you, I will say, hey, I'm going to send you some roughs eventually when they're mixed enough, when they're not just like the last rough I got is so bassy because it's the bass player just did it and he wants me to hear his parts, but it's good enough to really listen to it. You know? But I want you to hear it in case if I die tomorrow, I got to send you something, you know?
Don't die tomorrow. Come on, don't die tomorrow.
I'm not. Believe you me. I got enough tracks laid that the album would come out anyways.
Oh man. Well, folks, I'm gonna start doing a recommendation every week, and this week I have an obvious recommendation. Everybody should be checking out Blind Illusion on the internet. Find them wherever you can. They're on Spotify. I know that's where I found them.
YouTube.
And it's some fucking awesome old school thrash metal. You'll love it.
Thank you.
And next week I'm gonna make you come up with one too.
Yeah. Okay.
So that way we both have a rec.
Sounds good.
And yeah, man, Mark, thanks a lot for coming on the show, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And yeah, take her easy.
Okay, you too.
Well, we're
under my astral projection. I witness my rebirth at every return inspection. As the goddess breathes life in every orifice and pore, I re-enter my body and I live once more. And the sweat out your eyes when they throw the book at me, straight as the crowbar flies. 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 Known as music born reside, I came dancing on the womb, singing natural soprano, in love with the sister of the mother of the church of the whore of Babylon. So take the grit out your ears and the sweat out your eyes when they throw the book at me, straight as the crowbar flies. 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 Life in every orifice and pore, I re-enter my body and I live once more. Slipping the grit out your ears and the sweat out your eyes when they throw the book at me, straight as the crowbar flies. Straight as the crowbar flies.